So in 2022, Yamaha came out with the latest version of their R7, nothing like the original one from the year 2000. And when they brought it out, we went to the launch for it and we did a group test with it last year and absolutely loved it. This year, the regulations have changed for the TT race, and that got us thinking at Fast Bikes, just how far could you go with this bike? So we called up an old mate of ours, Michael Rutter, who knows a thing or two about racing at the TT and whose last piston-powered TT win was in the Supertwin class, to see if he'd be up for helping us out.
With Bathams Racing, we wanted to do our own thing. You know, I've rode for other people in the past in the Supertwin class, so we wanted to do something a little bit different. And the Yamaha, you know, is a brand new bike last year. The look of the bike, everything about it, it looks sort of like a race bike, yeah. out of the box really. We have got to do a lot of work to it, but we thought as a team, I think it'd be the best for me and Craig to run this year at the TT.
We're 10 weeks to go until we get to the TT, and this is the current state of play. It's not as bad as it looks, honest. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background that, if all goes to plan, will all come together just in time and we'll have this bike built really, really quickly. The engine is away, having all the work done to it, which is quite a long list of things. And while that's happening, we've had the suspension has been measured up by K-Tech. They're building one of their through rod concept rear shocks for the R7, and we're using a cartridge kit in the forks. So what we've got here is a load of stuff that we don't really need and some stuff that will be going back on. All the leftovers really. The airbox is an area that we'll be doing a lot of work on when we get the engine back. The rules let us modify that, so there's some big gains to be had there, especially at the TT where there's a lot of elevation change. Yeah, 1 minute you're at sea level and the next minute you're several thousand feet above it. So we won't be using the standard wheels. We'll be upgrading those to Dymags, and we're also upgrading the braking system to Brembo setup. Actually, on the rear brake, we've made a bracket that is going to let us move the caliper from above the swinging arm to below the swinging arm. So quite a trick thing. But that helps with in a lot of ways, and with lowering the centre of gravity and also with wheel changes. We've got the clutch has arrived from Suter. We've got to upgrade the clutch and put in a slipper clutch as well. They're adjustable, quite a trick thing. Pistons are here, con rods are here. We're just waiting really on the cam kit. That's coming over from America, from Yoshimura. We won't be using the standard radiator. That's not going to be big enough. Yeah, we're looking at quite a sizable increase in power here for the R7. As standard, these bikes come in at about 70-75 horsepower, which is great for a road bike, but it's not nearly enough to be challenging at the TT. So the target for us really is going to be about 100 horsepower. That's where we need to be. In terms of bodywork, we'll be using the official Yamaha GYTR stuff. It's good quality stuff. It fits straight on. That's away at the moment, getting painted and graphics done already. So we're looking forward to seeing that back. Supertwins is a class that you've enjoyed a lot of success on. I mean, what is it about the Supertwin that somehow you just seem to get along?
You know, I don't know. I think I've had a good choice of bikes. You know, I've had the bikes have been good, they've suited me. And plus I think the smoother you are on the little bikes and you keep your corner speed, that might be another thing. The only trouble is my size, you know, being a bit bigger, and you know, you get some people like, you know, Richard Cooper or someone like that on them, they weigh like half the weight of me.
Little pint size.
Yeah, you know, you do struggle, but TT you can keep your corner speed up and get tucked in, and you know, look at Peter Hickman. You know, he can wheel one around quite quick as well. So
yeah, he's tall. Isn't he?
Yeah, it's I just like the class. It's, you know, you like all classes, but you know, you always try and get the next step forward and try and be competitive, and that's where we think it's going to be with the new Yamaha R7. I think it's probably the best bike to have, hopefully for this year. You know, I know it's going to be hard this year because we're throwing everything together at it. And I think, but the following year, I think that's when it'll come into its own. to start in getting early.
So one of the things that is most striking really about when you strip a road bike off ready to start working, ready to start building it as a race bike, is just how much all that stuff that's on the bike as concessions for the road weighs. Even the bodywork is quite heavy. The weight limit that we can get down to for the Super Twin class is 150 kilos. And these bikes start out at 188 kilos. That's 38 kilos we can lose from this bike. And you would look at it and think, there isn't 38 kilos there to lose. But when you put the exhaust and the ABS pumps and all the bodywork and the headlights and all that stuff into a box and go to pick it up, it's a two-man job. Whether we get to 150 kilos or not, we'll see when the day comes and we put the bike on the scales. But there's certainly plenty of weight to take off, and there's plenty of room within the regs for us to take weight off. Like I say, 38 kilos is a lot. So last year when the R7 came out, it technically was eligible to race, but the regs weren't favourable. So that's the main difference between last year and this year. I've actually got a rundown of the regs here, and I'll quickly go through them because there are quite a lot of things you can do to the R7, all of which we're going to be doing. So we can tune the cylinder head, we can use lighter valves, and the pistons can be changed, as can the compression ratio. We can also change the exhaust, conrods, and camshafts for some that allow adjustable timing and different profiles. Gearbox can be changed as well. We've got quite a trick one going in actually from Nova, haven't we? Yep. With a weird gear pattern with neutrals at the top.
Yes, yeah.
First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Yeah. We can change the throttle bodies. They can be bored out. And the crankshaft can be changed and modified so long as it's not lighter than the standard crank. The ECU has to stay, but it can be reflashed or have secondary fuel injector module, a fuel or ignition module fitted, and the rev limit can be raised to 11,000 revs. The injectors can be modified and the bell mouse, along with the airbox. We can also change the clutch, which you've talked about. We're getting a Suter one in there, so that'll give us some back slip, and the Suter one's adjustable. The standard bike doesn't have that, and that's quite an important feature to have. We can change the radiator and the oil cooler as well, and that's just the engine. We're also getting a fuel tank made for it because the fuel tank's tiny on the R7, and you're going to need to be able to do two laps.
2 laps for the TT, yeah.
So that's going to go up to 20 litres, which is the maximum capacity, which is 7 litres more than the R7 has in standard trim. We can change the wheels, the brake discs and calipers, which you've already said. We're going to be using some quite trick Brembo ones actually, aren't they? Very shiny, aren't they? And the master cylinder can be changed. Rear suspension and linkage can be changed, which we talked about. K-Tech are doing that. And the forks can be changed and modified, and the triple clamps. The weight limit's 150 kilos, which we've talked about already before. And this year you'll be on slick tyres.
Yes, which is good, yeah.
So that should be quite a good laugh to ride. And that's just the R7 specific stuff in the regs. On top of that, there's all the usual stuff we've got to do, like fairings, brackets, safety stuff that you have to do anyway, regardless. So it's an enormous amount of work that has to be done. That's the regs. So what's the to-do list? What's happening in right now? Basically?
Well, what's happening now is basically bits are coming obviously from America.
Switzerland,
Europe, it's
England.
It's everything's made. Exhaust being there's an exhaust can be made in England as well, which we're going to try, and then all this stuff will then be put together, and then we'll have to start getting it on the dyno and testing. Because sometimes you put things on, it makes it go slower. So it's one of those try it, okay, does it work, and then put the standard one back on and try that.
So the first step will be the dyno. Run it up on the dyno, check it, everything's fine, it's making sensible numbers. I suppose there'll be the fuel and the ignition mapping will be done. Then at some point you're going to have to get on it and do a track test with it.
That's what we find out. We've got a lot of work to do,
it's
or
a big
not,
day.
So yeah, but I mean, we've got experienced people, like you say, we've got MSS, they're doing parts of it. We've got loads of experienced people, and hopefully we can get it put together, and it should be a brilliant bike.
We're sat here next to one of your dad's Yamahas. There's a reason for that. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, basically, I think it's 83, is it? 83 starts my dad's had at the TT, and I think when it comes round to the Super Twin race, it'll be my 83rd start. And my dad won on a Yamaha 350, and we want to try and do it in the similar kind of colour scheme to what he had, and have the leathers made, and helmet, so it'll just, you know, just a celebration of my dad winning on a Yamaha in 1973. And hopefully if we can get around and be somewhere up the front somewhere, I wouldn't say we're going to win, but you know, if we can get up there, and it'd be a nice gesture to my dad, and you know, me doing 83 starts as well.
Yeah, it's a hell of a number. He won his British Championships on Yamahas as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he's done the British Championship on the 350 Yamaha. We race against the Bathams, and they're well developed. They've got 7 or 8 years of development. You know, but we have got more capacity than you know, the 650 of the pattern, so that'll help as well. So you know, I don't think it's going to be easy, but having those more CCs and how the bike it seems a lot thinner than the pattern and other bikes out there. So yeah, I'm confident.